If you are working on a game, one of the most interesting questions you will ask yourself is, how much money will my game make? In this video, I will show one of the easiest and most common ways of estimating your game sales. And I will do it with a real-life example. My second game, a turn-based tactical base building game, is releasing next week, and I thought that it would be a funny exercise to see what the estimates say I will sell, and then later on I can complain how wrong they were, hopefully as an underestimation and not an overestimation. Alright, let's get started. As I was looking into this, I found this really helpful article by Simon Calles, and this article actually contains two spreadsheets you can use to estimate the sales, and they kind of do the same thing. One of these is this simple version and the second one is a bit more complicated looking. But in this video I will just stick to the simple version, as I think that is enough. I mean, these are estimates, not really like looking into a crystal ball, so I don't think looking into it in a too detailed way is actually helpful. Alright, so I made a copy of this simple spreadsheet, and the first thing you need to fill in here is the wishlist on Steam launch. And if I go to check out my current wishlist, it's at around 3,800. So let's fill in that to the spreadsheet. And it's good to know that this is wishlists on launch. I'm still like 1 week away from launch, so I think this will still increase, maybe like 100 and hopefully even more, but yeah, let's stick to the conservative value here, so 3,800. So right off the bat we can see that okay, on first day I would sell a bit less than 200 copies, and then during the first week I would overall sell 760 copies. Okay, so next thing we will need to fill in is the average cost of the game. I haven't made it public yet what the price of my game will be, but let's say it's around $12. That's at least close to the real value. So now we can see some of the like actual dollar amounts here. So it calculates that on the first week I would sell $9,000 worth. It's very good to note the difference between the gross and net sales. So if you're not used to looking at these sales numbers, that's one thing that can lead you astray, looking at big sales numbers, but then as you can see, the net value, the money that you potentially actually get, is like half of the gross value. So in here it says to get the net value you have to multiply by 58.5%, and yeah, that will like take away the Steam cut and refunds and taxes. And I wanted to verify that, and I went back to my first money video about my first game, how much is sold, and I checked the values, like the gross amount, and then this to company's account is the net value. So I did the math and I got like 59%. So yeah, it's pretty damn close the value in the sheet, because of course like the amount of returns and things like that will have an effect on the actual value. So yeah, this seems very reliable, the net value. Overall, these values don't really look that optimistic to me. I mean, I have spent something like 1 year and 4 months developing the game, so if all I get, let's say, yeah, so if I don't publish it to consoles, this would kind of be like the lifetime value. This is year 3, and of course your game doesn't stop existing after year 3, but the sales usually diminish a lot over time, so yeah, we can kind of think this as the lifetime value. It will be a little higher probably, but let's go with this one. So $30,000 for 1 and 4 months worth of work. That's not really so great, especially because this amount here doesn't yet include the taxes you will need to pay in your own country. If I again go back to my first money video, I did some calculations here that you will need to take into account. So first of all, development costs, you need to deduct those, and then the income tax, which depends based on the country and many different things actually. So yeah, if you imagine that we would get the like $30,000 and then you have to take away something like, let's say the 25 I had in the video, and let's assume that we don't have very high expenses, so yeah, it's that's not really such a great amount for like a lot of work. But these are just like the average estimates, and you can also see the comments that okay, yeah, there's a lot of fluctuation in these numbers. And I have a personal example how wrong they can be, luckily to the positive side. So these are numbers from my first game. When I released it, it had something like 1,700 wishlists. But then if I look at the like first week sales numbers, yeah, I sold 5,300 copies. So if we calculate how much that is, let's say, so it was 5,300 copies, and yeah, I had 1,700 wishlists, so yeah, that's a value of a bit over 3, and yeah, it was 1 week, so while this multiplier here is 0.2, my actual value with my first game was 3.1, and yeah, that's quite a big difference. So that's like, is it 15 times more or something like that? If you're looking for explanations why my value was so high, there really isn't like one exact answer, but I think the main reasons were that I didn't really do that much marketing during the whole development process. Now obviously that's not a good thing, but that could explain the like somewhat low wishlist number. I mean, it's decent, it's very good for your first game to have that amount of wishlists, but if I marketed it more, it would have like a better representation how many people are actually interested in the game. And then secondly, I did a lot of creator outreach that I focused exactly on the release. So I asked people to not release their videos before the actual like release of my game. So yeah, I think that's one reason why the launch itself was so like explosive. And thanks to that, well, I think it was thanks to that, I also got on the front page of Steam in the new and trending tab. So yeah, that gave me a lot of visibility and extra sales. So I think those 3 things are kind of like the explaining reasons why this value was so high. But that's not really something you can count on to happen to you. I mean, I don't expect it to happen to my game. I hope it will, but you can't really rely on it. Alright, so this value here, I'm not really too happy about it, so what can I do? Well, I can't really know for sure what this conversion value will be, but what I like to do and what I think is kind of respectful to the data is create different scenarios. So let's say maybe I'll create new columns here, so let's say bad, so maybe like meh, then okay, good, great, and then awesome. And then I will add the conversion value. So let's say the original average estimate that this sheet gives me is 0.2, and I think that's kind of meh, at least for my game. So then I will just throw numbers out of my orifices here, and let's say bad, maybe that's like 0.1, okay, Let's say 3, and maybe good could be something like 0.5, I think. Great, let's go higher with that. 0.8, and awesome. Maybe that's something like 1.3, and actually that's still kind of far from my Mortal Glory value, so let's come up with something crazy for the last one. Maybe that could be like the 0.1, so Mortal Glory, yeah, that's the best I can do for the descriptor. Then in here I will add a quick hacky formula that gives me the right value, so this should now be the same as the one here, yep, and then I will do the same here but change the value so it's end of year 3 with just Steam, so yep, and then if let's see, does this work? Awesome, so this would kind of be my range of numbers now. So that's a very big range of numbers, and of course there's a lot of speculation actually with the other variables also. So for example the 3-year value, that can also be very different, but let's go with the average here. And yeah, so now I can kind of like think that okay, if I have done a fairly good job at the release, then yeah, maybe I could expect something like 13,000 in the first week of net sales, and then in 3 years 73,000. For a 1 year and 4 months of work that I put into the game, I think that's yeah, I think that's okay. It's nothing really too exciting, but it would let me keep going making games, so yeah, that would be good. I would say that's a good descriptor. But then of course you want to look at the big numbers, that's just human nature, so if my game does as well as Mortal Glory has done, I could expect almost 500,000 of net sales in 3 years. That just sounds insane. I don't think I will get anything close to that, but yeah, maybe it's not good to look at the big numbers too much because you will just be let down by the other ones then. But maybe this awesome field here is like more descriptive. This would be a really good outcome for 1 year and 4 months of work. So this is one way of estimating sales and also to give yourself some targets to reach for. Now when I press the release button, I can also estimate that okay, if my first day sales are over this 190, then yeah, I can expect that my game will likely reach higher than this like meh category here. But of course, as said before, these are just estimates and averages. I mean, you can sell 5 copies on first day and then sell 2,000 on the next day. Maybe that would be quite rare for that to happen, but it's good to not get discouraged fast if you don't like fit into these exact estimates here. So these were my numbers, and look forward to another video after release to see what the actual results are and where I place on these categories here. If you have a game in the making, I hope your numbers will look really good over here. As a final plug in the end, if you think my game looks interesting and or you want to support what I do on YouTube here, it would mean a lot to me if you bought the game at release when it comes out next week. That would make it more likely that my game won't end up here in the bad column. Now I don't think it will be quite that bad, but overall I'm kind of worried that maybe the game is a bit too niche, and I've also had some setbacks with the marketing efforts. If you're interested in knowing more, I have a video about that on my channel, and while I hope that I will still be able to read some of these decent columns here, I really could use all the help I can get at this point. Okay, that's the end of the blog, and actually pretty much everything I want to say in this video, but I would love to hear the comments if you have some theories of your own or ideas about this subject matter. Okay, but hey, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.